Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to B Card Bets. I'm Brock Gordon, going solo on the first edition of this episode of B Card Bets, where well, we go through some of the biggest games, or just games we find very intriguing here at B Card Entertainment, of the college football and NFL landscape, and we give you our picks and predictions for those games. We got a nice set here lined up. Of course, I'm not the only one picking these games, as I will have input from my co hosts of Big Time Talkers, which can be found on this channel. Or, if you'd like it even better, Mr. Benjamin Duncan, who I also do a podcast about Mizzou football and other Mizzou athletics. He is one of the ones that also is picked in. But let's get straight into this. We will start in the college landscape first, as the first game on our docket here, Arkansas versus Oklahoma State. Current line is set as the Pokes are 10-point favorites over the Razorbacks. Both teams coming off wins in week one. Ollie Gordon looking to continue his streak of over 100 yards rushed. He is currently at 10 games right now. Arkansas is coming off of just thumping Arkansas Pine Bluff 70-0, looking very impressive in their win. Oklahoma State home game. This is before they play Tulsa next week. This is the first time these two teams have faced each other since 1980. So a very unique matchup here. This game can be found on ABC, of course. Oklahoma State beat South Dakota State 44-20 in week one. We go to our experts here at B Card Entertainment. Mr. Tommy Haley is picking Oklahoma State as 10.5 in this one. Mr. Benjamin Duncan going with Arkansas, thinking that Oklahoma State will still win, but it'll be a little bit closer, and that Arkansas will still lose that game. And the Pokes will ride out of Stillwater and the Tulsa next week with a victory. I am inclined to lean towards Mr. Thomas Haley, as well. Arkansas's week one win. Arkansas Pine Bluff, not historically a great team. South Dakota State, constantly in the mix, coming off FCS dominance in the playoffs. I don't think it's fair to compare the two teams based off their FCS opponents. That would be like comparing, Colorado just escaping. No, I'm not going to say that 'cause Colorado is trash. But that would be like saying, New Mexico State New Mexico State lost to Montana State, or New Mexico lost to Montana State, and comparing that to Oregon and Idaho. Well, Oregon beat Idaho. Yeah, they did, and just barely. However, Montana State is the better team than Idaho. So, do I still think Oregon State could beat New Mexico? Yes, of course I could, but that's not the question here. I think the Pokes will get the victory on this one. The next one on the docket, Georgia Tech at Syracuse. Now, the line has moved a little bit on this game from when we first had this written down. It was originally opened as a 3 in favor of the Yellow Jackets. And people are just riding that one with good reason. However, the money line right now is on Syracuse, who's a +2 or a +125 in that. And with that logic, Mr. Tommy Haley is going with the orange on this one. Georgia Tech coming off 2 straight wins, beating both Florida State in week 1 and Georgia State in week 2. Syracuse picked up a win over FCS opponent in week 1. And that opponent, oh, my bad, they defeated the University of Ohio 38-22. Tommy is going with the Hughes. Ben is going with the Yellow Jackets. This is the first time Georgia Tech's been ranked in a while. I will also be going with the Rambling Wreck from Georgia Tech. Next one, it's a Cyhawk Trophy. Iowa State, Iowa. Both teams are 1-0 on the year. Iowa coming off of putting up 40 points in their first game on the year. which that's just an offensive explosion in of itself over Illinois State. Iowa State, on the other hand, coming off a 21-3 victory over North Dakota. Currently, the line has moved. It is now Iowa as a 2.5 point favorite. So it's moving down towards Iowa State a bit more from when it opened, as it was a +3 for Iowa. It is now 2.5 for Iowa. Tommy going with the Cyclones, thinking they're going to get the win in Iowa City. Ben going with the Hawkeyes of Iowa, and I am with Mr. Benjamin Duncan. I think this is a much improved Iowa team. I think offensively they are much improved from what they have been in recent years. I think they will be a tour de force, if you will, in the Big Ten this year, and a dark horse to get to the Big Ten championship game yet again. The next matchup could very well be easily mistaken for a NFL game, as Pittsburgh takes on Cincinnati. No, that is the Panthers and the Cincinnati Bearcats. Cincinnati are 2-point favorites in this one. Once again, the boys are split. Tommy's going with Cincinnati. Ben going with Pitt. I just have this to say to who I'm picking. Eat shit, Pitt. So I'll take the Bearcats in this one. Both teams are 1-0 on the year, picking up wins over FCS opponents. The next one we have on the docket, Baylor and Utah. Not the line itself, but the over-under, which is 55.5. Both teams are looked very good in week one. Utah just showed their dominant defense completely all over the field, as Southern Utah just struggled to get anything going, and they shut out Southern Utah 49-0. Baylor last week beat Tarleton State 45-3. These are two very good defensive teams, very good offensive teams, but this is where it's going to be interesting, is the defensive battle. Both Ben and Tommy are going with the overs in this game of 55.5. I will be cautioning on the under. I think both defenses are very strong, very good. That is a staple now at Baylor. They've tried to do that more and more. Now, here recently, under their new head coach, we saw that when they won the Big 12 championship a few years ago, beating Oklahoma State in the championship game. It wasn't their offense that got them there, it was their defense. They're showing that again this year, and I think it will once again ring true in this one. The next one we have on the docket is ranked Kansas at Illinois. Currently, Kansas are 4.5 point favorites. And the Mizzou fan is going with the little school of the West. Tommy going with the Illabucks, or Illinois. I will also be going with Illinois on this one. I think Kansas kind of showed their hand a little bit in week one. Yes, they blew out, quote unquote, blew out Lindenwood, who is a glorified D2 school at this point. They don't have the talent to compete just yet at the FCS level. And your supposed star quarterback throws multiple picks. Not really the best look. Illinois, I think, is another one. I think Illinois could give the rest of the big boys that are in the Big Ten a run for their money. Illinois is busting out their retro Illinois orange font helmets with Illinois across the side. I really think this could be a big victory for Illinois in this one, and I fully expect them to rush the field in Champaign this weekend. Tennessee and NC State in Charlotte in the Dukes Mayo Classic. I would just like to say this here. I want this to become a regular rivalry game. The interactions between these two fan bases on Twitter is incredible. The close proximity these two schools are to each other is incredible. I like both these teams personally. Tommy is going with Tennessee. Tennessee is a 9.5 point favorite. Ben is going with NC State, not to win, but to beat the spread. I think NC State has a real chance at winning this game. This game is in Charlotte. People might be saying, "Oh, that's just a glorified home game for NC State, like the Bulldogs playing in Atlanta." No, yes, it does. You don't realize how close Knoxville is to Charlotte, or how far away Raleigh is from Charlotte, until you look it up. It's insane. Um, I think there's going to be a lot of red. I think there's going to be a lot of orange too. This game's not already sold out. It will be here shortly. If for no other reason, just NC State fans walking up, or some morbidly curious North Carolina fans or Duke fans, just because why not? So I have the Wolfpack in this one, not to necessarily win, but to cover. The next one, the most overrated team in the nation, Colorado, goes on the road to Memorial Field in Lincoln, Nebraska to take on the Huskers. It's letting you know now we got to sweep across the board. We're all picking Nebraska to win. They're 6.5 point favorites over versus Wisconsin. Wisconsin looks terrible, or versus Colorado. Colorado looks terrible. I get it. It was NC State, or it was North Dakota State. This isn't exactly one of the better North Dakota State teams that we've ever seen. But still, you had to get a gift from the refs to win your game, and yeah, not looking good. Uh, yeah, give me Nebraska. Ben has Nebraska. Tommy has Nebraska. Up next, Texas Tech and Washington State is a pick. That's right. You heard me. A pick. You got to pick them. Um. Oh, and as I said, that the line has now moved. Washington State is a 1.5 point favorite. They are the home team hosting the Red Raiders. So Wazoo is at home against Texas Tech. Tommy's got the Red Raiders. Ben's got the Cougs. It's just gonna be a good game. Like the same thing with the Tennessee NC State one. This is just gonna be a great game. This is gonna be probably the best game of the week in college football this week. I mean, I know we just had a really good one with BYU, SMU this past Friday or this yesterday on Friday. That was a great game between those two. Low scoring, defensive struggle, not something you would have thought between the two schools. Honestly, those two schools are known for their offense, and defenses showed up to play, and that was something to truly behold in that one. In this one, I think it will go to the Cougs. I think they are. I don't know how I want to phrase it. They are going to a bowl game. I think they might be 9-3, but because they only play Mountain West schools, people look upon them a little bit lower. Either way, I think the Cougs got this one. We'll go to the NFL before getting to our main event of the evening. You all know what the main event is. The NFL games we got on slot. Pittsburgh takes on Atlanta. Arthur Smith's revenge game against the Falcons. Tommy going with Pittsburgh. Ben going with Atlanta. I gotta go with Atlanta. I think Atlanta's gonna just smoke the Steelers. The Steelers are not looking good this year. I think this might be their first year. They don't get over 500 with Mike Tomlin as their head coach. It does not look good for the Yinzers in Pittsburgh right now. The next one we got LA Rams at Ford Field to take on the Detroit Lions. Lions are 4.5 point favorite. Oh, I forgot to mention Atlanta are 3.5 point favorites over Pittsburgh. Lions 4.5 point favorites over the Rams. This is Detroit. They're the popular pick to go and represent the NFC in the Super Bowl. I am inclined to agree with those people. I think Detroit's going to have a really good team. Do I think they're going to get over the hump of, say, like a Kansas City or a Baltimore or a Buffalo if they get their shit together? No, I don't. But at the same time, I think they might very well represent the NFC. And that's represented in our picks. We got a clean sweep with the Lions beating the Rams, 4.5 point favorites there. Final NFL game San Francisco at home, Monday Night Football against the New York Jets. Niners, 4.5 point favorites. We are all over the Niners on this one. I don't believe the Jets are going to be anything good this year. I think they're going to be trash. I think they're going to be god awful. Don't expect anything from the Jets really. Maybe ever this year. Aaron Rodgers will most certainly be completing his Brett Favre arc when he is the quarterback for the Vikings next year. Sorry, JJ McCarthy. Maybe that's what the Vikings will give up for Aaron Rodgers. we all have the Niners, who are 4.5-point favorites on this one. Our main event week: Texas versus Michigan in the Big House. As it currently sits, the University of Texas is favored in this game. They are 7-point favorites. The line on this game is 42.5, by the way. So the over-under is 42.5, which that alone is insane. That's gonna be the line for that game. Like, what the heck? Okay. But Texas -7 or 7-point favorites. Tommy is going to Michigan. He has them to win outright. Ben has Michigan winning outright. I don't agree with them. I think Texas is going to mop the floor with Michigan. I think Michigan is one of the more overrated teams this year. I think legitimately the only reason they are ranked so high is because they are national champions from last year. But I think all their magic and everything left with John Harbaugh when he left to go to the Chargers. I don't know if he has, like, it kind of showed in week 1 against Fresno State. I mean, good Lord, Fresno State's giving you issues. I mean, I get it. They're one of the best group of 5 teams that there are, or at least one of the better ones here in recent memory, but Fresno State's giving you issues? The Bulldogs? They're giving you issues. They're the ones that you're going to struggle against? Meanwhile, Texas just goes out and beats the living snot out of Colorado State in their first game in the SEC. Good Lord. I mean, I don't know how this is a question here. You only score 30 and you only got to 30 because, and quite honestly, the only reason is because in the fourth quarter, you finally figured it out. Otherwise, the rest of the game, you were up 13-3. Like, you don't look good. Texas came out and just started beating, just bowled over the Rams. Although I do say horns down with as much passion as I have in my life, I do believe this is Texas's to win, and I do believe the Longhorns will pick up the victory. So, to recap, Tommy and his card here, he's got Michigan +7, Oklahoma State -10, Syracuse -3, Iowa State -2.5, Cincinnati -2, Baylor, Utah over, Illinois 4.5, Tennessee 9.5, Nebraska 6.5, Texas Tech 1.5, the Steelers 3.5, the Lions 4.5, and the Niners 4.5. His lock of the week is Baylor, Utah over 55.5. Mr. Benjamin Duncan has Michigan, Arkansas, Georgia Tech, Iowa, Pitt, Baylor, Utah over, Kansas, NC State +9.5, Nebraska, Wazoo, Atlanta, Detroit, San Francisco, and his lock is Nebraska. Mine are Texas, Oklahoma State, Ramblin' Wreck, Iowa, Pitt, Cincinnati, Illinois, NC State, Nebraska, Wazoo, Atlanta, Detroit, and San Francisco, with my lock being Texas. Thank you for tuning in to this first edition of B Card Bets. We'll have a better version and hopefully a video version next week for all of you at home to watch along with us. If you want to follow me on Twitter, I can be found at BrockCourt99, B in the G are capitalized. If you want to find Tommy on Twitter, you can follow him at dude_rex14, D in the R capitalized. If you want to follow Ben on Twitter, find him at Elite Tiger Sport 1. The E, the T, the S are capitalized on that. Follow B Card Entertainment on Twitter at B_card. ENT, the B, the C, and the E are all capitalized on that one. If you want to find out some more nice little tidbits or find the paper version of what we're picking for the week, you can find that over at bcardentertainment.com. That is B-cardentertainment.com. BetSmart.com. The link is in the description. If you want to find Ben's YouTube channel, that link is also in the description down below. Other than that, I've been Brock Gordon. Have a wonderful rest of your week, folks, and bet smart.